Hello guys, and welcome to this VolksWizard video. Now, it's been far too long since I did a head-to-head video, but today's should be a really good one. In the red corner we have my own Volkswagen Up GTI. I've done about 4,000 miles in this car. I've had it about 7 months. I use it pretty much daily and I still absolutely love it. In the yellow corner though, we have this Audi S1 Sportback. Now, I hadn't driven one of these until very recently and I absolutely love these too. So I thought it might be worth making a video comparing these two compact hot hatches. I know what you're going to say, the S1 isn't really a fair rival for the Up GTI because it costs twice as much, it's twice as powerful, and it's even got twice as many driven wheels. But get this, you can now buy an S1 for about £15,000 used when they're 4 years, 40,000 miles on the clock say, which is pretty much within a few pennies of what the list price of my Up GTI was when it was brand new. Okay, the S1 will cost more to insure, it will cost you more in fuel, servicing, parts, whatever, but it's lost already half of its value, while the Up GTI has still got a lot of depreciation yet to come. So total cost of ownership actually shouldn't be too different. You can even get a relatively cheap warranty for these cars. I priced up a warranty-wise cover for this car. It was under £400 for a year through the trade, and I think that's pretty good. So without any further ado, let's have a closer look at these two compact hot hatches, starting with the Audi S1. Okay, I've just moved over to the GoPro so I can walk you around this car. I'll just take this opportunity to point out that I have now bought a new microphone. I think the old one was what caused the problem with all the audio on the other videos, so hopefully that will be behind us now. Right, I'll walk you around this lovely Audi S1 Sportback Quattro. Now, this car's finished in Vegas yellow. It's an extra cost colour. I think it's a bit more expensive than the other extra cost colours, and it does look superb. But like the inside, this car externally has got a few options that make it look like it does. We've got the external Quattro styling pack, which gives you these red highlights in the headlights. You get the Quattro on the back doors, and you get this huge rear wing. Making this car look even better is what the second owner did. He had this bottom half of the tailgate wrapped in black. Very good job actually, and that gives you the contrast with the black and the yellow from the bottom all the way up. He even had these badges done in black, which you can get as a factory option now finally on your A1, but for this model it has to be aftermarket. While we're here, let's have a look at those exhausts. So people got a bit excited about these on the Golf R, saying they were overkill. Lord knows what they think of them on this little car, but I think they look superb as a package. I think it looks brilliant. The wheels are extra cost. These are 18-inch, standard at 17, and they're really plain, like S-line looking wheels. Got silver mirrors as well, which I think are actually standard. Let me talk you through the options on the inside, or basically tell you what you don't get. So if you're looking at a 15 grand car, there's quite a good chance a lot of this will be missing, but you might get lucky. So we've got the Super Sport seats. They're not particularly racy, but they look better than standard. These ones have got the colour coding on the backs, which looks pretty cool. We have got navigation system, we've got cruise control, which you can probably just about see. Heated seats are extra on this car, even though they're standard on the Up GTI for some reason. We've got the alloy gear knob, which again is extra. Colour coding of the vents and the centre console, that is extra. I'm sure, knowing Audi, the centre armrest is extra as well. But I think the alloy pedals are actually standard. What does bug me about A1s generally is that the quality of the carpets and the plastics down here are not really what you'd expect from an Audi. I reckon that's Polo, or probably even the same standard carpet as an Up. It's not as good as an A3, which when it's a 15 grand car isn't a problem, but when it's a 30 grand plus car like this, it is a bit disappointing. Now, I need to show you the boot because I've checked the stats again and again, and it keeps on saying that this car has got a smaller boot than the Up, which sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But I think the problem is you can't count this section because it's got the battery in it, while on the Up, if you lower the floor, it's really deep, if not as long. The same applies with the seats folded. This is actually smaller than that of the Up, which is a bit weird because the car is roughly 10% longer, so that's 3,600 millimetres long. This is just over 3,900 millimetres long. So it's really all to do with the four-wheel drive system, which lifts the boot floor as well, to a degree I'd imagine, like it does on a lot of the other cars, because it's longer, but you don't get any more rear legroom. So the seat now is in my driving position. I'm 6 foot tall, and it's not particularly comfy here. No, it's not. I'm sure even the worst budget airlines don't put you in this sort of discomfort, but on the plus side, you can brace your head against a roof if the driver is driving like a lunatic. But yeah, I'd want to get out pretty quickly, even if they weren't. So now I've shown you around the Audi S1 Sportback Quattro. Let me show you around, again, my own Volkswagen Up GTI. Okay, about a year after I first said it, let me walk you around this Up GTI. Now this is a bit different because it's my own car and it's done about 4,000 miles, but it's still pretty much like new. And it's not standard, it's got a few extras, which are it's got a black roof, parking sensors on the rear, cruise control and height adjustment for the passenger seat. Oh, and climate control, yeah, so that actually does make a real big difference to the aesthetics of the dashboard. I think instead of having those clunky little knobs, you've got a digital display. It looks pretty cool. Plastics, well, I reckon that's very similar to the S1. Carpet is very similar to the S1. Obviously the seats are cheaper and less well bolstered, but you get what you pay for. I don't think this is half the car of that, and it is literally half the price as a new car. So, you know, there's enough character injected into this to make it feel different to the base models and to feel special, and I get it every day and I'm perfectly happy with it, and yeah, I don't feel shortchanged one bit. Externally, the black and body colour contrast is actually surprisingly similar to that of the S1, so they're trading on their Quattro heritage, we're trading on our GTI heritage with the stripes. We've got a black inlay at the front, we've got a black tailgate at the back. It's pretty similar to that really, so I don't think there's an awful lot in it. You're never going to be as stylish as the S1 because that tailgate is very steeply raked, which looks a bit more stylish than this very sort of abrupt tailgate of the Up, but the Up does use its space better. So we haven't got four-wheel drive down there, so the boot virtually goes to the floor, and that explains why it's bigger than that of the S1. It's just a lot deeper. It's a little bit shorter, but deeper and higher. That is surprising. I'm not convinced the legroom actually is as much as in the S1, so it's a little bit tighter. I'm not going to get in there. No, I think I'll give that a miss, but I think that's my driving position. I just gave it a quick vac, so maybe I have moved it, but yeah, let's get in and I'll show you around this. So we've got heated seats as standard, we've got Bluetooth as standard. I'm not sure about Bluetooth on the S1, but definitely heated seats are not standard. Nice GTI steering wheel, at least as good as the one in that car. We've got controls on there as well. It's annoying there are no heater vents here, and that's again one for another video. I don't like this hard plastic, which makes it elbow sore, but again, one for another video. I think the phone holder, when you put your phone in it, plug it in, it's great. You know, you can connect to the head unit, you can use it for navigation. I don't think the one in that is actually that much better, to be honest. So sat here, yes, it's not as well equipped as that, but it's actually all you really need. Anyway, that's enough about my Up GTI. Now let's go driving, and let's start off with the Audi S1. Okay guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Audi S1 Quattro, so let's start with a few stats. This car produces 230 horsepower, 370 Newton meters of torque, so they're roughly double of that in the Up GTI, but it only weighs 30% more at 1315 kilograms as opposed to 998 for the Up, so it is an urgent little car. We've got four-wheel drive, which helps the 0 to 60 time. It does it in 5.8 seconds. That's the same as a Club Sport S, but don't be misled by that. It's nowhere near as quick as a Club Sport S when you get rolling. The ride is, I've got to admit, quite firm. We're on 18-inch wheels. We've only got 35 section tyres, so it is a little bit turbulent on this slightly crappy British B road, but it's not too bad. It's not crashing into its bump stops, and it is really controlled as a result. And with the Quattro, we do have no fear of all this water. But you do need to be careful because this is still a frisky little car. It's not your numb, inert, understeering Audi. I got it oversteering yesterday inadvertently on quite a busy roundabout, which was a bit stupid. I'll show you the clip right now. Now, if anything, that should prove to you that this car is a bit of an animal, which I was surprised about because I just thought it would be a bit of a cynical attempt at marketing, and the S brand would just be a, you know, just badges really and performance. But they did go to a lot of trouble re-engineering this car for all-wheel drive. And bear in mind, it's the only all-wheel drive car on this platform, I think, and they did make a lot of effort. And as a result, it does feel like a very special car. It feels much more special than something like a Golf R. You do have to spec it, but you can spec it. If you want to individualise the car, the options are there. With the Golf R, there aren't really an awful lot of options to make it feel special. You know, you can't do anything with dash inlays or anything like that. Even the colour range is limited in the UK compared to Germany. So it is a lovely little package. Now, I think compared to the Up GTI, it's a serious performance car. It's great because it's got the performance of somewhere around the Golf GTI performance, probably somewhere in between there and the R, so it is a proper car, but it's still got that lovely narrow feeling that you get with the Up GTI, which means that you can throw it down a road like this with gay abandon, because you've got reserve. You know, if you find there's a puddle on the edge of the road like here and you have to go over a bit and a car's coming, you'll get through. If you find there's a cyclist or whatever, you know, you've got that little bit more leeway in a car like this. As I said in the intro, it's actually narrower across the mirrors than the Up GTI, which I find quite hard to believe, but driving it down this road, it feels that way. And unlike the Up, we've got infinite traction. We can get on the power earlier. There's no traction control intervention to spoil the fun. You can overtake stuff and give it full throttle when you're on the wrong side of the road, and you won't find traction control kicking in and cutting the power, which does happen with the Up GTI. But the big question remains, does it make more sense as a compact hot hatch for £15,000 than the Up GTI? Well, there's only one way to find out. Bring on the Up GTI. Okay guys, here we are behind the wheel of my own Volkswagen Up GTI. So as I said earlier, I've had it for 7 months now, and it still amazes me with how brilliant it is to drive. The components it's made out of are pretty humble, but put them all together in this car and it is weird how much fun it is to drive. Now I know the power to weight ratio is less good than that of the S1, and it's got half the power, it's got just over half the torque, but there's something about light cars, and you know, for example, the suspension can be quite well controlled when you go into a corner, but it can also be supple. That's the benefit of lightweight, and on this kind of road it does feel a lot less turbulent than the S1. The biggest dynamic hindrance with this car is the traction control, but that's only because the tyres are so rubbish. If it had better tyres, the traction control would be less busy. I better just take it easy around these horses. The brow, I think we're all right. So yeah, you never know what you're going to find on a road like this, so being in a nice narrow car like this, and to be fair, the S1 is great. It just takes away some of the risks. I mean, I drove a Golf GTI Performance down here, and there were some hairy moments, and that is quite a wide car in comparison to this one. Now the S1 is, I think of it as 4 different cars. It can be your prestige car, feels a bit special, so it could be good enough for a weekend treat. It could be a track day car with the right tyres. It could be you get you home in the winter car if you put some winter tyres on it. Nothing will stop that Haldex. Even the ground clearance on it I think is quite good, because I serviced it yesterday and had it up in the air, and the sill point is surprisingly high. So yeah, it would be a really good winter commuter car. And it's also, of course, a hot hatch, so it's a proper hot hatch with that kind of performance. For some people, you might be better off just buying a Golf GTI Performance. If you don't fancy that narrowness and you need the space, you want to put people in the back, they're pretty good to drive, but the S1 is somehow more intriguing than that car. It's hard to say, especially if you get them optioned correctly. With the VAQ cars like the GTI Performance, there is a car to learn there. You have to work out how it works, but it's nowhere near as intriguing as working out how a Haldex car works when you turn the traction control off and when you have it on, and seeing when the four-wheel drive kicks in. It's a very engaging experience with the newer Haldex, because they do drive a lot from the rear. So yeah, the S1 is a little bit more fascinating to me as a driver than the Golf GTI Performance, but for some reason practicalities will take the fall, and the GTI Performance is a superb car. Yeah, so if you only had one car, I think the S1 would make a better fist of it than this car. But if you've got a choice like I have, and I'm sure a lot of buyers of these cars who are my age as well will have something a bit more exciting for the weekend, because this doesn't really fulfill my petrol head needs. It's great, but something a bit more hardcore is needed, and you know, if you've got that and you want this for the daily, it's absolutely perfect. Also, if you're a younger driver and you can't afford the insurance on an S1, You will not be disappointed with this car. Just try and keep it out of a hedge, get your no claims bonus, and then when the new S1 comes out and your finance on this car comes to an end, you could probably jump to those and you'd find it a perfect progression for an enthusiastic driver. So really, what's better comes down to your needs. For me, I don't think I could really find a need for the S1, however much I like it. By the Up GTI, I use a hell of a lot, and the fact it's at least half as good again on fuel consumption means that I use it a hell of a lot and enjoy using it, and still get a thrill from using it, and use more of the performance of this car than I would of that of the S1. So all the downsides of the S1, the fuel consumption, the servicing costs, and so on, they're kind of wasted a bit because you can't use that performance all that much. So to summarise, there is no bad choice really, it just depends on what your needs are. Both are fantastic hot hatches, and the fact they're both so small and compact makes them very addictive to drive on roads like this, and the fact the new A1 is so much bigger is a bit of a shame really, because the S1 will probably be more the size of an Audi A3, I think, which kind of ruins its unique position in the market. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this VolksWizard video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, please comment, because I will reply to every single one for the first week, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.